There was once a man who could shake the very foundations of American politics. A single word from him could bring millions out on the streets. And then, one day, he simply vanished into thin air. No body, no witnesses, no clues. This is the story of Jimmy Hoffa, a name once hailed as the king of America's labor unions. His ties with the mafia were no secret, and his enemies were countless. His life nothing short of a ticking time bomb. But the greatest mystery of all remains unsolved: the disappearance of Hoffa himself. Some believe the mafia silenced him forever. Others say his growing political power turned even his own allies against him. Today, we will dig deep into this unsolved mystery, turn back the pages of Hoffa's life, and try to uncover the question that has haunted America for decades. What really happened to Jimmy Hoffa? Jimmy Hoffa was born James Riddle Hoffa in 1913 into a working-class family. His father died when he was still very young, forcing his mother to raise the family alone. From childhood, Hoffa understood the true meaning of poverty, struggle, and labor. At a young age, Hoffa noticed one thing: life for the average American worker was brutally unfair. Factory and transport workers toiled for 10 to 12 hours a day, yet their wages were pitiful. They had a voice, but no one to hear it. At the same time, a movement was rising in America: labor unions. These unions fought for workers' rights, higher wages, shorter hours, safer working conditions. Jimmy Hoffa made this movement his life's mission. He was not just a worker, he was becoming a leader. His style was different. He spoke directly to workers, listened to their pain, and convinced them that if they stood together, even the most powerful corporations and the government itself would have to listen. But this path soon collided with the mafia. At that time, America's labor unions were heavily influenced by organized crime. The mafia used them to run their illegal businesses. Instead of resisting, Hoffa struck deals with them. This partnership became both his greatest strength and his biggest weakness. And from here, Hoffa's story took a dramatic turn. He was no longer just a workers' leader. He had become a man whose single gesture could shake the politics of an entire nation. In the 1940s and 50s, Jimmy Hoffa's name was on the lips of every worker in America. He had joined the Teamsters Union, representing truck drivers and transport workers. And under his leadership, it grew into the largest and most powerful union in the country. By the 1960s, the Teamsters had millions of members. Hoffa held such power that a single strike could bring the nation's transport system to a halt. Politicians needed his support to win elections, and corporations needed him to keep their businesses running. But Hoffa's real strength wasn't just the workers' voice. It was his ties with the mafia. The mafia funneled its illegal money into the Teamsters pension fund, and Hoffa became the bridge for that deal. To the workers, he was a Robin Hood. To the mafia, a trusted business partner. This double life made him even more powerful. But where there is power, there are enemies. The U.S. government, especially Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, was openly against Hoffa. Kennedy believed Hoffa was nothing more than the mafia's puppet, using his union for corruption. Even the mafia, once satisfied with him, began turning against him. Hoffa could be useful one day, and a threat the next. In 1967, Hoffa was sent to prison on charges of corruption and fraud. It was the biggest blow of his career, but even behind bars, his name carried weight. His supporters outside waited for his return. When Hoffa was finally released, he made up his mind. He would reclaim his throne. But the world had changed. The mafia's new leaders didn't want him back, and the government was eager to crush him again. From this point, Hoffa's enemies only grew stronger, and his life reached a turning point from which there was no return. And then came the day when Hoffa vanished into thin air. 30th July, 1975. A hot summer afternoon in Detroit. Hoffa told a few close friends he had a meeting with two old mafia bosses, Tony Pro and Tony Jack. The meeting was set for 2 p.m. in the parking lot of Mach's Red Fox restaurant. Around 2 o'clock, witnesses saw Hoffa step out of his car, glancing around the lot as though waiting for someone. But the men he was supposed to meet never showed up. Evening turned to night, but Hoffa never returned home. The next morning, his car was found in the same parking lot. The engine was off, his personal belongings were inside, but Hoffa himself had disappeared. No signs of struggle, no blood, no witnesses. A man who had dominated headlines the day before had simply evaporated. The FBI rushed to investigate, but from the very beginning, it was clear. This was no ordinary missing person case. This was an event tied to the mafia, politics, and America's most powerful labor union. And thus began the story that transformed Hoffa from a man into a legend. But what really happened to Hoffa that day? Was he forced into a car against his will? Did he trust someone he shouldn't have? And if he was killed, where did his body go? In the next part, we will uncover the FBI's investigation, mafia theories, and the clues that turned Hoffa's name into one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in the world. News of Hoffa's disappearance spread like wildfire across America. The very next day, the FBI declared it a top priority case. Dozens of agents swarmed the area around the restaurant, interrogating every witness, tracking every phone call Hoffa had made. But the problem was, it was all too clean. Not a drop of blood, no struggle, no solid witnesses. Every lead ended in nothing but theories. The first suspect was Anthony "Tony Pro" Provenzano, a powerful mafia boss who had a bitter personal feud with Hoffa. At one point, Tony Pro had even threatened to kill him. The second was Anthony "Tony Jack" Giacoloni, a notorious mafia fixer. The FBI suspected Hoffa had been lured into a trap by these men, only to be eliminated. But again, there was no evidence, only rumors. One theory claimed the mafia killed him and burned his body in an industrial furnace. Another suggested he was buried beneath concrete. In the 1980s, a wild rumor spread that Hoffa's body was buried beneath the New Jersey Giants Stadium. The FBI even dug, but found nothing. Some experts believed the government itself might have had a hand, silencing Hoffa before he could expose his mafia allies. Every few years, a new witness would surface. An old mobster would confess. But when the details were checked, everything dissolved into smoke. And then, another twist emerged.